Okay, and we're started recording, and I'm going to go ahead and mute you. There we go. Okay, so for starters, when you start up SPSS, if you're on the PC, if you go to your start menu, hit start. If you go to on the Mac, if you go down here and click on the symbol for SPSS, it comes up and you get this introductory log on where you can choose to create a new data set. You can look up an old data set, recent files, so on and so forth. A lot of people don't like using this, and they click don't show this dialog in the future. It's like kind of like Word coming up with all those templates and stuff like that right at the start. I leave it open. I leave this the way it is because in case students are looking at it and they see it, they don't see it on mine when it comes up. They don't get confused by it. So I'm just going to leave it like that. I'm going to hit cancel because I usually just get it from the file menu when I really need something. So I'm going to hit cancel. So this is how SPSS opens. It's called a data window. As a matter of fact, down here you can see there's two views. There's a data view and there's a variable view. If you're using the PC, these might be in a slightly different location, but for the most part, the Mac and PC versions are virtually identical. The other way you can move between these two is if you go up here to the file icon and over here to view, if you look up here to variables, if I click that, it changes to the variable view. If I go up to view and change the data, it goes back to the data view. Okay, now there's a difference between these two views. The data view is where you actually see the data. Now, this looks like a spreadsheet, but it's nothing like a spreadsheet. These rows and columns represent subjects and variables. Okay, so this row 1 might be an individual subject. Row 2 might be a different subject, a patient, or a third patient, or a fourth patient, or a fifth subject, and so on and so forth. These columns represent variables. Like this first one might represent age, BMI, blood pressure, so on and so forth. Each one represents different variables. Now, some of these variables may be nominal or categorical variables, like, for instance, gender, male or female, or they could be a diabetic, yes or no, right? And a lot of times what we do with that is we use numbers to represent those cases, or those labels, yes or no, or diabetic or not diabetic, male or female, and so on and so forth. Others of these might represent numerical variables, like blood pressure is a numerical variable. That's an important distinction because it determines what kind of tests that we're going to do. Now, you can literally start typing information into SPSS right here, right? So, for instance, I could actually, let's say that this first column is gender. I'm going to call ones males and zeros females. So I could literally start typing information into this, just like this. So subject 1 is a male, subject 2 is female, subject 3 is a male, subject 4 is a female, and so on. Now let's say I want to type in a numerical variable like their weight. Okay, so let's see. This is 185 pounds. This is 123. Excuse me. Let me go back up. I slid over a little bit there. This is, let's say, 150, and this is 135. Okay, so that's a numerical variable. Now notice how SPSS gave these default variable names, variable 001, variable 002. We can actually go in and actually tell SPSS more information about these variables, right? So in this data view, the rows are subjects and the columns are variables. If we click into the variable view, notice we've created two variables. We click into the variable view, there's two rows. Each one of these rows represents the detail about that particular variable. So I can go in here and edit this. I'm going to call this variable, gender. Okay, and I'm going to make the label here male or female. Okay, now let's talk about the difference between the name of the variable and the label. The name of the variable is very limited. It's got to start with a letter, can only have letters and numbers, no spaces, and so on and so forth. So if we put in, if we abbreviate it like BP for blood pressure, that's not going to work very well for us when we want to create a chart, and we want it to be a little bit more descriptive to someone that's going to be reading it. The label is not the variable name. Gender is the variable name, but label is what's going to appear on all the labels, on all the charts and graphs that you make from with SPSS. Because so it's very useful. You can make that basically anything you want, including a more descriptive name and having spaces and unusual characters there. So I think we call this. I think the other one was weight, right? So I'm gonna put in weight, and I'm gonna go over here. I'm gonna make the label weight before. Let's see. Let's say before drug. Okay, maybe this is a drug study or something like that, a weight loss drug or something like that. So I can make that pretty descriptive. So I want to go back to the data view now just to look at it, for instance. Let's go back to the data view. And I see, oh, okay, look, it changed to weight, it changed to gender. However, I still got these ones and zeros. Kind of a little hard to interpret, isn't it? Ones and zeros. In fact, if somebody else looks at your work, they're not going to know which is which. I'm going back to the variable view. Now, for gender, I can go in here. See, this column says values. If it's a categorical, nominal categorical variable, and actually, it doesn't know which one it is right now. See, gender, if you go across here to role, it doesn't know what it is, a measure of here, rather. If you go in here, it doesn't know if it's a scalar variable or a nominal variable. We want to let it know it's a nominal variable, right? Because it's gender, male or female. Now, weight is going to be a scalar variable, a scale or a number. Okay, you have three choices: ordinal, nominal, or scalar. Okay, it's the scales, which is basically a number. Okay, so now we've let it know that this is a nominal variable. Nominal variables, we can go into the values column, click on there, then a little box appears. If we click on that, we can tell it what the values represent. Like 1 represents male. And I can say add that to my definitions. 0 represents female. Add that to my definitions. Click OK. So now you don't see much of a change here, but if I go back to my data view, oh, look at that. Now SPSS knows how to interpret this. Okay, and I actually can turn that on and off. If I go up here to view, I can click on value labels, and it just shows it as numbers. I click on value labels again. That's a toggle, they call that. It shows the actual value that represents. Okay, so how are we doing so far? Is that okay so far? You can type into, okay, good. Now, when we want to interpret this data, okay, when we want to interpret this data, there's a number of analyses that we can do on this data, depending on what kind of data it is. I'm going to minimize this. I'm going to open up a new file, okay, and file, open data, okay, and I'm going to go to my desktop. It's a little bit of a task here on Mac to get to it. And I made a folder up here. Now, when I open a new value, when I open a new data, when I open an existing data set, it'll go to the folder where the data is, and it'll look for it. Now, right now, if you look in here, file type, .sav, it's only looking for SPSS files. If I click on this, I can tell it to look for Excel files, look for all files even. If I click all files, I see, look what I see I have here. I have descriptive statistics. I have a Word document, which I'm not going to play around with at all. And I have an actual SPSS file, a .sav file. I'm going to open up this Excel. I'm going to import this Excel file. Now, on the test, I'm not going to ask you to import Excel files. I'll give you the file formats that you need to actually do the work. But in this case, I'm going to open this and import it. The first thing it asks me is the first row of data, is that really data, or is it like a name at the top of a list on Excel? I happen to know this is just 10 numbers, 18 numbers, and there's no name at the top. So I'm going to import this. Okay, and actually this was one of your files, right? You pasted it in an Excel file. So all of this stuff here really has no meaning, right? It's just all we want here is a list of numbers. So I am going to delete all that stuff. Okay, clear. And I'm going to, actually, there's a few more there that I want to get out of there. Clear. And I'm going to delete all this other stuff over here. Okay, so all I have now is a list of 10 numbers. Now, when I'm dealing with 10 numbers, I can do I can do descriptive statistics on it because it's a numerical variable. So, for instance, I can go up here to analyze descriptive statistics descriptive statistics, and I can ask it to tell me descriptive statistics for this sample. Okay, so now V1 is the column I'm interested in, right? There must be still some dots or some blanks that are filled in on these others. V1 is the list I'm interested in. That's the variable I'm interested in. And I can ask it to give me the mean, standard deviation, minimum, maximum, so on and so forth. I can ask it to do these analyses for me. I'll click OK. Now, SPSS opens another window called an output window, and that output window has the results of that analysis in it. There's 10 numbers, the minimum is 65, maximum 75, and the mean is 69.8, and the standard deviation is 3.645. That's the numbers that we dealt with in the homework, as a matter of fact. Okay, so now that's very nice. I have that information, right? And it's very easy to do. Analyze, descriptive statistics, descriptives. Now, this is only for numerical variables. You don't do this for categorical variables, nominal variables like male or female. It doesn't make sense to average males and females, zeros and ones, because it's meaningless. Okay, so at any rate, so these we have we have the mean standard deviation. So now I'm going to go back here. I'm going to go look at analyze again, descriptive statistics. Right below that, there's another option called Explore. If I click on Explore, it gives me a little bit more information that I have to give it. Well, again, I'm going to look at variable number 1, that first column of variables. I click on Statistics. It's already checked off to do descriptive statistics. It really doesn't give me too many other choices that I'm interested in right now. So I'm going to leave that. It also says plots. Well, one of the things that is interesting to me a lot of times on this kind of information is to make a histogram. So I'm going to check that off. Okay, and then I'm going to say display both on the output, display both the statistics and the plots that you create. I'm going to click OK. And SPSS is going to go ahead and do that analysis. Now this time it's going to do the same thing. It's going to find the mean, got the same value. It's going to find the median, the standard deviation, the interquartile range. It's going to give us a lot more information than just that descriptives. Explore gives us a little bit more information than just descriptives does. Okay, but it's the same stuff. It'll do a histogram for us. It'll do a box plot. Box plot is the bottom feather represents the smallest value, 65. Top feather represents the biggest. The bottom of this gray box represents the 25th percentile. The top represents the 75th percentile. So this is the interquartile range. And the dark bar in the middle represents the median, not the mean, but the median in this case. Okay, so now I can get this information for any numerical variable that I want to analyze. Right, so I'm going to move on just a little bit now, and I'm going to go back. I'm going to actually now open up a real data set that we've been working with, that NC North Carolina data set. Now remember, we have two windows open now. We got the data view, data variable view window, and we have the output window open. If you want to save them, you have to save them separately. Okay, they both won't save individually. If you save the data set and close the output document without saving it, you won't have the output document anymore, and vice versa. Okay, so they're two separate windows that have to be saved separately. I think this one comes out a .spo file. This one comes out a .sav file. So I'm going to open a new file. So you open data. Okay, except this time I'm already in that folder that I have my data in, and this is an SAV file, so it shows up. I don't have to change it, tell what kind of data file to look for. It's already looking for SAV files, its own files. So I'm going to open this. Okay, so now let's see what we have now. What we have now is a whole bunch of information about births in North Carolina, a sample of 800 women who gave birth in North Carolina. These are the variables. We're in the data view window. The variable view window is here. And you can see it's labeled with which is a nominal variable, which is a scalar variable, numerical. Okay, and for instance, gender is a nominal variable. If I click into values, it tells me that 1 equals males, 2 equals females. It's coded it a little bit differently. Okay, if I click into marital status, it tells me into the values. It tells me that 1 is married and 2 is not married, and so on and so forth. As far as the numerical variables are concerned, well, for instance, this is the amount of weight, the weight of the child at birth, right? There's no values in there's nothing in the values box because it's a number. It's not something that's represented by a 1 or a 0. It's the actual weight of the child, right? It's a scalar or numerical variable. So if I'm interested in finding out what's the average weight of babies born in North Carolina, that's a numerical variable. I can do a descriptive statistics on it, just as we did before. I'm going to go click back to the data view. I'm going to go up here and say Analyze, Descriptive Statistics, and I'm going to say, I'm going to start with descriptives. Okay, well, let's find the weight of the child in ounces. It's that variable. I tell SPSS that's the one I want to analyze. I tell it I want all these various descriptive statistics, and I say OK. Okay, and it comes up in the output table. There's 800 children. The lowest weight was a premature baby, 12 ounces. The highest was 169 ounces. The mean was 116. The standard deviation was 22. Okay, so we have that information. As I said before, if we went up to Analyze, Descriptive Statistics, and we went into Explore, we could move that same variable into the dependence list. Right, let's go into here, weight of child in ounces. I'm going to move that in there. And this time I can tell it, okay, do descriptive statistics. Good. Let's go into plots. Do a histogram for me too. I'm going to click continue, and then I'm going to click, it's going to display both. I'm going to click OK. So the output window now shows us more information. It gives us the same mean and standard deviation, 116 and 22.5, as we got before, but it also gives us all these other descriptive statistics as well. In addition to that, it shows us a histogram. We can see this is skewed to the left because those premature babies pull the average down. Okay, and we can see that this is a box plot. And as we said, the bottom feather means the lowest value, the top feather means the highest value. The bottom of this means the 25th percentile, top 75th percentile, and the range here is the interquartile range, and this is the median weight of babies. Now, notice that there's all these other dots in here. What those are children that are so far away from the median value that SPSS is questioning whether or not those might be outliers that maybe you don't want to include in your study that might bias your work. But you have to make a judgment of that. We're not going to make that judgment now. So actually, when we look at the bottom feather here, it's telling us the lowest value that SPSS is not considering an outlier. The lowest and highest value that's it's not considering an outlier. It uses a basic formula to figure that out that you can actually change and modify. So now the interesting thing is here now is that, we might be interested in knowing, well, we have information here, a nominal variable that tells us whether the mother smoked during pregnancy. We might be interested in seeing if the average weight of babies for mothers who smoke during pregnancy is the same for smokers and non-smokers. Okay, so in fact, we can do that. And in order to do that, we go to Analyze, Descriptive Statistics. We can't go to Descriptives because that only gives us one box. It doesn't give us a chance to tell it to differentiate between mothers who smoked and mothers who didn't. So I'm going to go into Explore. Okay, we already have the weight of the child in the dependence list. Now the factor list is a place where you can put a nominal variable, something that has only a couple of values or a few values, and you can ask SPSS to split up the data into those values. So one of them could be race of the mother, could be marital status. Okay, we mentioned smoking, right? So let's click on smoked during pregnancy. Okay, so I'm going to move that in there. So now it's going to break up this data into the mothers who smoked and into the mothers who didn't smoke. Again, I'll check this. It's already checked off the descriptive statistics. I'll check this. It's already checked off a histogram. And it automatically does box plots when you go into Explore, so I don't have to worry about that. It displays as both. I'm going to click OK, and it's going to come up in the output window. Let's see the comparison. Mothers who did not smoke during pregnancy. Now notice that the variable name was T ounces. but SPSS puts the variable label in here, so it's a readable chart. Okay, so mothers who didn't smoke, baby's weight was 117. Mothers who did smoke was 109. So babies of mothers who smoked tended to have a mean weight that was lower than mothers who did not smoke. Very interesting, right? And here's a histogram for this is for mothers who did not smoke during pregnancy. This is for mothers who did smoke during pregnancy. These are stem and leaf plots that basically mirror images of the histogram. And here are side-by-side box plots, which it automatically creates for us when we use Explore. And we can see that, in general, the weights of the babies that were in the study for mothers who do not smoke are lower than the weights for mothers who lower. The ones who did smoke are lower weights than the ones who did smoke. We can kind of get a visual look at how they compare. You notice a lot more outliers for mothers who did not smoke. And that's only because there weren't that many women that smoked in this study. Might have only been like 5% of the population or something like that. So it might only be 50 women or something like that. So that's why it looks that. But you can see in general that the median is higher and the range is higher for mothers who did not smoke during the weights. Okay, so that's basically how we use this. Okay, now you're going to want to get this information out into a useful form. And one of the ways that you can do this is to just simply click on one of these boxes, right, like right there, open up a Word document, excuse me. Okay, up. It's an old document. Get that out of the way. Let me get a new blank document. And you can say paste into this Word document. Whoops, up. I didn't copy it. Copy. Let me see if I got it this time. And paste. I'm going to Control V. There we go. We managed to paste this into this document. So if you're making up a report or something like that, you can actually put this table into your report. And if I want to go back, I can actually go in here and I can click on this chart, this histogram, or maybe even better, maybe I want to use this box plot. I can click on it. Notice it's highlighted now. I can say Edit, Copy, or Control C, right? And I can go over here and paste it. Now I have a bug in my version of SPSS that I'm using right now, and it's not letting me paste in these images. Yours on the PC should work okay. The ones in the lab that you'll be using for the test will actually paste in that picture as well. Now you may have noticed that on the homework that I provided, I provided it, I kind of updated it also. Let me see if I can't find it again. I actually updated it. Here's a format for the assignment one where you can paste in these various bars, produce a like these various devices side-by-side box plot. You would paste this side-by-side box plot that I'm describing right now right into this place here. Okay, and actually what I have to do is I have to do something a little bit special. I have to go into a screen capture thing that's on the Mac, and this, hopefully me and only a couple other students have to do this right now, because this is a bug that we need to get worked out. And I can tell it to select that, copy it, and I think I should be able to paste it in there. There you go, and it pastes it. It's nice to paste it in as an image also, because you can resize it and stuff like that. Yes, I think so. You need to look back on it, but you can always resubmit the homework as well. I think I don't recall exactly what you did, but I think you had some issues with that. But now that you have this video, you can go back and you can actually work through that again and make sure you have it. You get comfortable with it, because on the exam you don't want to be fumbling around too much. You want to use your time as efficiently as possible. Even though I don't think time's going to be a big issue, I hope time will be a big issue on Monday. Yeah, absolutely. You can resubmit it, and you can even resubmit it after the exam if you're tied up and stuff like that. But make sure you know how to do it. So at any rate, so really, all this is not all that complicated. It's just really first understanding, am I working with nominal or a numerical variable. I just want to say one more thing.
It's 11 o'clock.
And that is when you're working with numerical variables, nominal variables, you don't do descriptive statistics. So for instance, if I go up here to analyze descriptive statistics, let's say even go into descriptives, right? I don't use, I'm going to move this in here. I'm going to put in the sex of the child, right? It's going to be just male and female. I'm going to click OK, right? And it's going to do descriptive to, well, let's see. The mean is 800 children, 800 babies. The minimum was 1 and the maximum was 2. That's because it's males and females, so 1 and 2, right? And the mean was 1.48. Well, that really doesn't mean anything, does it? Right? So when you're dealing with nominal variables like male and female, diabetic, yes or no, right? You want to just use frequencies. So I'm going to go up here to analyze descriptive statistics, frequencies. And this time I'm going to say, okay, put in the sex of the child. And let's see, what do I want to know? Well, I don't want to know this stuff over here because that's numerical stuff. Let's go into chart. Well, make me a bar chart. Okay? Maybe that would be useful. And bar chart's going to have frequencies. Not You can make frequencies or percentages. Doesn't matter which one you choose. You'll see the output. Okay? And I'm going to click OK. Let's see what it does for me. What it does is it actually creates, it tells you the number of males, the number of females, and the percentage from each group. This is much more useful than having an average of the zeros and ones and twos, which are really meaningless, right? And it also produces a bar chart, not a histogram, but a bar chart, which you can see the relative number of males and females. So in this population of a sample of 800 children that were born, there were more male children than were born than female children in this particular sample. Okay, so and again, that's something you could click on, say copy, and then paste it to a Word document, which is likely what you're going to have to do when you do the exam on Monday. Okay, so I can leave it at that. I'll post this. Maybe I'm going to post it for everybody so they get a chance to see it and go over it in case they need it. So I'm going to stop recording now.